Mental health is a life sentence without parole. Too many of us carry invisible wounds, trauma, loss, shame, and silence. I created the Crawl, Walk, Run podcast to break that silence, to give a voice to the voiceless. This is not just a show. It is a platform, a place where authors, veterans, artists, survivors, and everyday people can share their truth without fear of judgment. We crawl through the darkness. We walk toward healing. And we run into purpose. Together, we will build this community. This podcast is about resilience, about stories that matter, and about reminding the world that your voice could save someone's life. I'm your host, Stevo, and this is Crawl, Walk, Run.
Founding story of Hope for 22 a Day. Hope for 22 a Day was born from a moment of grief and compassion that reached across continents. In 2021, after the tragic loss of 13 U.S. service members in Afghanistan, Vice President Jared Lindley returned home to his wife Cassie Lindley with a list of desperately needed supplies for those suffering on the ground, both the victims caught in the chaos at the borders and the babies being passed over barbed wire in desperate attempts to reach safety. With only $200 of their own savings, Jared and Cassie refused to let helplessness win. They decided to act. Cassie turned to the one resource she had, her voice and her community on TikTok. Using creativity and heart, she transformed a small act of generosity into a grassroots movement. By purchasing affordable merchandise from major TikTok creators and auctioning it off for charity, she turned that $200 into over $5,000 within days. The funds were used to purchase diapers, toys, hygiene products, toothpaste, and toothbrushes for displaced Afghan children and families, while also supporting the men and women serving on the front lines who were risking their lives to help. That single act of compassion became the spark for Hope for 22 a Day, a veteran-founded nonprofit dedicated to honoring those who serve by serving others, turning loss into action, and compassion into community. What began as a kitchen table mission has since grown into an organized effort that provides backpacks for homeless veterans, care packages for deployed troops, and a support network for military families. Every initiative reflects the same founding spirit: ordinary people doing extraordinary good with whatever they have.
Hello, hello, hello. I am Stevo, William Stevens, retired Sergeant First Class, United States Army. And this is the Crawl, Walk, Run podcast, Season 2, Episode 8. And today, this is the special Christmas edition that will stream 1 or 2 days before Christmas. And I have the privilege to introduce to you Cassie, who is the CEO of Hope for 22 a Day. And I would just like to say, I usually wear my 1821 apparel. Today, I have No Dead Friends on by the Grunt Style Foundation. For 1 second, we're going to take about 15 seconds to remember the fallen veteran, Marine Corps veteran who took his life. Too many veterans taking their lives, people. And that's why we have a person like this coming on today to tell you what she does in her organization. So let's not delay. I'm going to bring her into the studio. Cassie, what's going on?
Hi, darling. How are you?
I'm good. How are you today?
Doing wonderful. Doing wonderful. I'm excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you. So what does Crawl, Walk, Run mean to you?
Well, I actually had to give this a lot of thought because I know that this is a mental health platform. And for me, mental health is very important, not just because my husband being in the military and not just because of what we do over here at Hope for 22 a Day, but I have unfortunately been through trauma as well, not in the same way that, our soldiers have, but I've been essayed. I have been through a DV situation growing up. My father was very abusive to me. and so is my mother. And so this is something that is very near and dear to my heart. And it's part of the reason why whenever my husband came home from his first deployment, why I was able to actually identify that he was going through something and help him through that. So crawling, for me, I'm going to break it down into the different segments, if you don't mind. For me, crawling is whenever you have literally been just crawling through the trenches and the mud and the muck for so long in your mind that you can't see anything in front of you or anything behind you. Crawling to me is basically, it's not even surviving. It's just trying to get through the day-to-day life without, having to, think of the inevitable. And then you've got the part of life where we are walking, we're going through the motions, we are sitting here. For me, and the reason why I say it like this is because when I'm in my mental health state of mind where I am just going through the motions of everyday life and I know I need help, I don't want to go backwards towards the crawling part of things. I want to move forward. I want to do better for my family, for my husband, and for what we do over here at Hope for 22 a Day. So when I'm just, and I'll be honest with you, there's a lot of times I have sat here just going through the motions. As a mother, I don't want to see my kids ever have to go through something like this. Walking for me is just day by day surviving, not thriving. And then you've got the running part where we're running so quickly through life that we are just basically bypassing everything that we should be focusing on as far as our mental health, our family life, our day-to-day life and everything like that. And sometimes when we are running, we forget to really truly take care of ourselves, especially our mental health. And I am very guilty of that. That one speaks to me more than anything because I would rather not focus on what I need to focus on for myself. I would rather focus on others and what I need to do for others. So I find myself running a lot through my mental health and not actually focusing on what I need to work on whenever it comes to my mental health. As far as the military's perspective, I can't touch base on that because, as much as I would like to say I'm familiar with the culture and the lifestyle, being a military spouse, that's something that I can't really touch base on, obviously.
Thank you. So I believe everybody has trauma, past, present, future, it doesn't matter. And it doesn't have to be military trauma, just like you explained. So now we're going to get into the next thing. What is trauma? And if you don't have trauma, what do you do to help other people with their trauma?
And honestly, this was my favorite question out of all of them. Part of the reason why I do what I do is it does help me through my crawling, my walking, and my running stages of my mental health. Being able to pack backpacks for homeless veterans and being able to hand out a backpack to a homeless veteran and see that gratefulness, that gratitude on their face just for being able to receive a warm, hot meal and a sleeping bag and some essentials for life, like that heals my trauma more than I could ever imagine. And I didn't realize I needed that until the first time I actually did something like that. Back in Keesler, we were back at Keesler Air Force Base back in 2014, and I actually ran a Bible study that I invited a bunch of military spouses into my house, and we had coffee and cakes and everything like that, and we discussed, life as a military spouse through biblical aspects and everything. And I found myself with these ladies, these 42 women in my house, just absolutely astonished by the amount of humanity that these women had and wanted to give back into the society. So we came up with this idea at one point in time to go to the dollar store, and each one of us would buy $20, $40 worth of merchandise, essentials. And I went to the Airman's Attic on base and I got all of the bags that they possibly had, purses and backpacks, just anything like that I could possibly grab that could fit these items. And we went to the New Orleans Center. I don't know if you've ever seen New Orleans. It's an eye opener for sure. But I actually got to see Tent City down there and see the devastation that our veterans go through, after they get out and everything. That has truly been implanted in my mind from the very beginning, that vision right there. And I knew at that point in time I wanted to do something more. I just didn't know what. And I didn't know how either at the time, because Hope for 22 a Day didn't really come into fruition until 2022. So when I started this mission, I lost my grandfather, who's sitting right behind me. He served in the Army back in the 1950s. And the only stories I ever got were that of the pinup girls, the USO girls that came over and did the shows for them and everything. Reasons why I do pinup is in honor of him. But it was May of 2022 that I lost him from lung cancer. It was very sudden. And I remembered everything that he did with his life throughout his lifespan, and how much he helped different charities and different organizations with our soldiers, our veterans, and everything like that, being a veteran himself. And so I wanted to continue that mission. The day before he passed, I put down the paperwork for Hope for 22 a Day, and I almost completely knocked it off and said, no, I don't want to do this anymore. But it was in that moment that I truly looked at myself and I said, would he be proud of you if you did that, though? He wouldn't want you to sit there and just grieve him and not continue the mission that has been placed before you. This is something that is so much more than just a purpose, it's a calling. And so I continued that mission. And by doing so, I found so much healing through my trauma by being able to give something such as a box or a backpack. Doing the boxes for troops overseas, obviously with my husband being in the military, we know how important that is. My husband was deployed back in 2019 over in Syria, and he couldn't hardly receive anything. So every time I sent him a box, it came back. Because of how much his mission was moving him around to different places. And so if it wasn't for random people like what we do, sending over boxes during the Christmas season, my husband would have never received anything. And so by being able to give that type of a gift at Christmas time, to boost their morale, to give them a little bit of a piece of home, basically, which is something that they miss so desperately over there. That is, to me, the real true reason, the reason why we do what we do, not only at Hope for 22 a Day, but the reason why Christmas even exists, is giving what we have of ourselves, to better somebody else's life. So.
Wow. I don't even have to ask the third question because you already that one.
I kind of went into that third one. I'm sorry.
So, most people just knock them out, but I like the way that you're breaking them down. So, the fourth question, I know that your husband's still in the military, and we talked about this, and a lot of military people don't do this, but he's got 2 more years until he hits 20, and most people that get out don't know how to write resumes, have not prepared to that, and it looks like that your husband and you are preparing the transition, the military transition. So the fourth question is, how is the military transition going? Is he already preparing as a leader? Because most leaders go to school and their soldiers get out and they don't help them prepare to get out. So
yeah,
it's good that you guys are preparing already, because
absolutely.
Senior leaders get out and they have no clue what to do when they get out. And you already have this LLC and this organization that's blowing up all over social media, all over the place. Because I followed your story when you had only a couple boxes, and now you're like got this whole distribution thing going on. So are they receiving the boxes?
So basically what we're doing right now is obviously box season. This is Christmas season. And to go back to the first question real quick before I go into that, yes, we are transitioning into hopefully civilian life here in a couple of years. And I know how much of a transition that is for veterans. A lot of the thanks goes into the veterans that follow me on TikTok, giving me their perspectives on how they got out and what they needed. Is actually helping my husband very much so on his journey on getting out. So we know we need a plan, obviously, in order to transition and to give him a purpose again and everything. We plan on going back to Texas, which is our home. I grew up in Amarillo, Texas. He grew up in Fritch, Texas. And we mainly want to go back because of the Hazelwood Act that is there, not only for our children, but also for him to continue his schooling and his education as well as mine. The Hazelwood Act is a very huge thing down there in Texas, and it helps children who are in the military lifestyle basically go to school in any Texas school, and they help them financially and everything like that. So it's a wonderful program that I believe there's several states that have it. I just know that Texas is one of them. But obviously the main reason is because of family and everything too. But to answer your question about the boxes though too, like one of the things that, and I'm gonna circle back around. You'll have to forgive me. I'm ADHD, and so I kind of go off on tangents and everything. But to go into this story real quick, my husband was also deployed in Kuwait whenever we started doing these boxes. And so from going from not being able to send him a single box to sending him 100 boxes that year was absolutely phenomenal. And definitely a tearjerker. I put a lot of my blood, sweat, and tears into every single one of those boxes, and I make sure that they are all uniform. They all have the exact same thing in each and every single individual one. They all have a Christmas card. They all have a Christmas ornament. They all have, that little piece of home inside of them. And so when he got the 100 boxes over there, one of my followers sent us soaps, homemade soaps. She has a goat farm and everything. And my husband, when he was able to call me, he said, "What did you do?" And I was like, "What do you mean? What are you talking about?" He's like, "Well, normally whenever we receive boxes, they fight over the Cheetos or the ramen or something like that. But everybody was fighting over the soaps." And I was like, "Are you serious?" Over something so small, but it was because it smelled like home. It was a piece of home for them. And so everybody just was absolutely just in tears over the soaps because of how much it meant to them. And so that kind of, for me, started something else in my mind. I was like, I wonder what would happen if we actually started selling soaps too. So at Hope for 22 a Day, we do have a line of military-based soaps that I make out of my garage. My husband loves that I took over the whole entire garage now. And they're all military-based. So the Marine one obviously smells of Fruit Loops, and it has little crayons in it and everything like that. We put a disclaimer on there, though, because we don't want you guys eating the soap. So it says for external use only, okay? The Army one smells of espresso because we know how much you guys are addicted to your coffee. The Navy one is probably my favorite because I have a very near and dear friend who's in the Navy. It smells of bourbon and birchwood, and that's because we wanted to get you drunk, and we wanted to give you wood at the same time. And then, of course, I had to do Chair Force too. I mean, Air Force. That one smells just like the 4-star hotel they came out of, basically. It smells of clean linen. So out of something that was so small and so beautiful at the same time, as you can tell, I try to I try to take every single individual piece of life as a learning experience. And with that experience, I wanted to take it and turn it into something beautiful again. So we started selling soap about a year ago. It's buy a bar of soap and it donates a bar of soap to the boxes or the backpacks that we do. Obviously, that's also a healing thing for my trauma as well, because I love being creative and everything. And so by being in the garage and making the soaps and stuff like that, that really helps me with my PTSD and everything that I suffer with. So
That I did not know that you did soaps. So I'm
yeah.
have to reach out to you and get that coffee soap. So,
I'll tell you what, I'm going to send you one of our calendars anyways, and I'll send you a soap as well. I just need an address or a PO box from you, okay?
yeah, I was going to get into that. So the floor is yours. So we've been on for 20 minutes. Usually it's a 30-minute show because this is a Christmas edition
Mm-hmm.
to talk about what your organization is. You've probably already hit on that, but reiterate. I'm going to show some stuff that you've been doing. I have this thing about a check that you know what I'm talking about. The
Mm-hmm.
donations, your nonprofit, and then the calendars, and then I would like you to give like a special Christmas, message to all the troops and everybody that are trying to do what they're doing, and especially people that are in the darkness and silence over holiday season. And then we'll end the show, and then I'll close the show, and then I will get back with you with the recording. And I don't think I'll have any other questions for you because, like, the floor is yours. So thank
Okay,
you, Kasha, for being on the show always.
absolutely. Thank you. I'm
Well,
sorry if I've been talking too much. I tend to get away with that, so.
that's fine because I'm the host, and I don't need to be. It's your platform, and I'm just here hosting you. So go ahead and take off with Hope 22, and you'll see me just start posting things left and right. So
Okay.
enjoy.
Um,
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you so much. Um, as they said in the beginning, this was formed out of the 13 fallen soldiers whenever that happened. This was an accidental charity, technically, but also at the same time, it also helped saved so many lives along the way. Right now, as we stand, we have delivered over 500 backpacks for homeless veterans. And after this week, once we get the rest of our boxes out of the garage, we will have delivered over 500 boxes for troops deployed overseas. Um, this is something that obviously means the world to me, not only to carry on my grandfather's legacy, but also to remember those who have fallen and why we do what we do. Because this is such a mental health platform, I want to go ahead and touch base a little bit on that aspect. I have so many amazing, beautiful friends that have come along my way through this app, through TikTok, and through other social media platforms. But one of them that really screams out to me the most is, and I call her mom now, a friend of mine. Who has very much become my mother over the years. She's a Gold Star spouse, and her story is absolutely amazing by far. She unfortunately saw her husband become a 22 a day. She's a nurse, a psych nurse, and so she tried to bring him back several times. And his picture is actually the one that I travel with whenever I go to vendor shows and I set up the Fallen Soldiers table. His story is the one that I try to bring light to everywhere, because it not only brings light to the 22 a day and why we're here, what we're doing, but it also brings the side of the families and what they go through as well. To hear her story and what she had to go through and all of the adversities that she has been through, it is absolutely awe-inspiring. Now she helps soldiers and Marines and Navy men and airmen go through those steps by being a psych nurse and helping them out. She's on the phone with them constantly, 24/7, trying to help them through whatever it is that they're going through. And to be able to go from such a story, like, I don't think people understand that there are two different types of people that emerge from trauma like that. There's the person who becomes resilient and tries to make the better of themselves and try to make sure that other people don't go through what they had to go through. And then there's the other person who sits there in their pain, and they they can't see past it, and that's not anybody's fault of their own. It's just that there's two different types of people that emerge from that type of trauma. And I love the fact that she has been able to take her trauma and transfer it and help those who are going through the same thing. Not only that, but she's also helping family members as well, obviously, go through what she's been through. So her story is actually a large part of why I started doing what I did as well, because I met her around the same time that I started Hope for 22 a Day. She's actually on our board. She's our mother, like I said, but she's our communications director. And she does an amazing job at trying to help out our veterans and being a part of the communications aspect of Hope for 22 a Day. Obviously, my husband is the vice president. I'm the CEO. And I have two other people that I have yet to name. William is our fellow Navy man, and he's our secretary, and Miss Erin, who is our CFO. Every single one of us bring a huge part of what Hope for 22 a Day is about. And being a part of an organization like this, I think it not only gives purpose to the veterans who are helping us out, but also to the family members who are helping as well. It gives them something to basically give that hole that is still there, but it gives it a little bit of meaning at the same time, if that makes sense. One of the things that I love most is being able to share this aspect with my children. I have 4 children, amazing children, and each one of them are in the garage with me whenever I'm packing the backpacks and the boxes. And so being able to share this type of segment with a younger generation and show them that this is what life is all about. It's not about TV. It's not about getting things. It's not about, being on YouTube and all this other stuff. Obviously, with being on social media, they know that their mother is very much a part of, the social media aspect. They know that I've gone viral and things like that. But I don't use that to my advantage in my household. I try to teach them and learn them that this is a beautiful way of being able to help others. It's not just a way of being able to be famous and everything. Use something like this for the betterment of society. Use something like this. If God has given you something so precious, like a platform to be able to use your voice, use it. Even if it's just changing one life, even if it's just one backpack or just one box that we were doing, that's still one life that we were changing. So if I could give a Christmas message to anyone, teach your children something like that this Christmas. I just recently went to the downtown area here in Oklahoma, and there's a beautiful little vintage shop that I dressed up as Mrs. Claus at, and I read to the children a beautiful story. I'm not going to go into the whole detail of it, but it's called Christmas from Heaven. And it's about a World War II veteran, an airman, who was delivering, if you guys remember, the Soviet Union and Germany back then was very much being blocked off. And so there was a lot of families in Germany that couldn't receive certain things like food and amenities like shampoo and conditioner, and things like that. So he was part of that Operation Vitals back in the day in the 1950s and 60s, and he was delivering flowers, like huge bags of flour, over to certain cities. And he came across a field of children that were behind a gate. And those children, he walked up to them and they started asking him questions like, what's in the flour and what are you doing and why is this and why is that? And he realized how poor these children were dressed. Some of them had holes in their shoes and some of them had holes in their clothes and everything. And so all he had in his 2 pockets were 2 things of gum. And he passed that gum through the fence and he said, I want you guys to share this. Well, that turned into an idea for him. And this is what the American dream is all about. This is what humanity is all about, right? He wanted to turn that into something more than just 2 pieces of gum. So he sent out a message to his fellow soldiers over there and he said, give me your rations of candy and candy canes and chocolates and whatever you can. And I'm going to put them in the plane, and I'm going to do Operation Little Vitals, basically at Christmas time. So they put their handkerchiefs on all of the little candy bars, and he pushed out all of these beautiful little candies and candy canes with little parachutes on them. And he told the children, wait for me. And they said, well, what plane are you in? How are we going to be able to identify you? And he said, I wiggle my wings back and forth. So he became known as Uncle Wiggle Wings over there in Germany. I highly suggest you go look it up. It's on Amazon. It's called Christmas from Heaven. And it's a beautiful story, like I said, of a 1950s pilot who decided to give Christmas to the little German children over there. The story goes into so much more depth than that, obviously, but if you do anything this Christmas, I highly suggest you go get that book for your children and read it to them on Christmas Eve.
Amazing story. Kasha, right?
Yes.
I appreciate everything that you do for veterans and people that are struggling with 22 a day. Your husband, he's doing an amazing thing in the military. Always be the spouse and support him. I definitely have seen your story. If you could just elaborate on the calendars.
Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot about that. Yes. So obviously with my grandfather, I wanted to continue not only his legacy through the charity, but through pinup. Yes, it is a sexy look, but it is also a classy look when you look at it. Back in the 1940s, it was created by a group of women, Marilyn Monroe obviously being one of them, and Audrey Hepburn and a few other amazing choice ladies from back in the day. They decided to come up with this look to help try to boost morale, boost that little bit of happiness, and give them hope for coming home from the war. And so by doing this calendar, which this will be our fourth year running with this calendar, I have 12 beautiful, amazing, gorgeous ladies that are all military affiliated in some way, some of them veterans, some of them children of veterans, and some of them spouses. Every single one of them come together to help honor our soldiers in the individual ways. Obviously, there's going to be Army, Navy, Marine, but one of the most amazing things that I had the pleasure of doing this year was doing a POW pinup and a KIA pinup. That has never been done before, and so I actually really wanted to bring awareness to the POWs and the KIAs as well. So we have a mother-daughter duo in this year's calendar that is portraying the POW pinup and the KIA pinup. Every single one of these girls also represent a different mental health awareness ribbon. So each month that you go by, you're going to see a different mental health ribbon that goes with either the military branch that you see or first responder, or as like I said, one of our specialty pinups is the POW and KIA. So, and every single calendar sold actually helps us with the shipping and handling costs of these boxes that we do. So please go get yourself a calendar if you can. They make an amazing gift to any veteran in your life. I can already tell you we've sold over 120 this year already, and we released them on November 11th. So and we continue selling them all throughout the year, obviously, but Christmas time is the most important time of the year that we usually try to do this because it helps with the shipping and handling of the boxes and everything. So
I have to say I have a high maintenance kid who's 18. So you told me about what you're doing right now. So can you explain to everybody your POW apparel today?
absolutely. So for the POW, I do the black rose in my hair as an honor to those who were prisoners of war back in the Vietnam. I actually have a soap. It's a little rat soap that comes with a POW pin, and it smells of night air and old books. And the reason why I went with the rat look was because of the stories of the rats that if you ever listen to a Vietnam veteran who was a POW, they'll sit there and tell you stories about how they befriended the rats and everything back in the day. And so I wanted to bring awareness not only through my soaps that I make, but also through the look and everything as well. So the black flower is the darkness that they had to sit through for so long for so many years before they could actually come home. And honestly, the sad part is obviously some of them didn't make it home. And to bring awareness to something like that. Now, I had the joy and privilege of being able to meet an amazing veteran in Springfield, Missouri. I was at a pinup thing over there in Springfield at Hot Rod Holiday, and there was a veteran that came by my vendor table several times because he saw the fallen soldiers table. And by around the fifth or sixth time, I got up out of the table and I went over to talk to him. And he said, I love what this is. I love what this represents. And thank you for bringing, awareness to what this is. And I said, well, would you like to sit down? Would you like to talk? And he gave me his story about how he lost his father to 22 a day, who was a POW. He also lost two of his brothers. And he's basically the last one standing. He was a part of the AMVETS over there in Washington, D.C. with the Saluting Marine, and he was a part of a motorcycle organization. And I gave him one of our calendars as a thank you for his service. And the next day he came up to me and he gave me a little POW flag that he had on the back of his bike whenever he was going around doing the AMVETS. So that was obviously very special for me to be able to meet him. That's the main reason why I do pinup. It's not just because of my grandfather or because it's a good look and it's a classy look and everything. It's because I love the reaction that I get out of the veterans whenever I just simply sit down and talk to them and have a cup of coffee, make them feel special, even if it's just for 5 minutes. So sorry, I keep talking too much. I'm sorry.
Great. No problem.
Okay.
So, hey, it's the Christmas edition.
It is. It is.
So I'm going to drop you down.
Okay.
Thank you very much for taking the time out of your busy schedule for coming on and giving the message to anyone that's out there in silence or in the dark. Always remember there's 22 veterans a day, even their spouses or their children that can be unaliving. So we've had 11 so far this year at VA facilities, which is terrible. I don't know what they're doing, but I definitely would tell you that there are organizations out there that are true and honest in what they're doing. And I appreciate everything you're doing. And I would just like to say, this is my closing of the show. Thank you very much for everything. Thank you for your husband and his service and sacrifice. Any veterans out there who are serving, I send this out to veteran podcast people that have way more followers than I do. And also I'm on X, so I need to find you on X and I need to find you on TikTok because I just got on there, and I will share this on there. And like I talked to you about, we're going to do a special pinup type AI cartoon of you on the side of an airplane for the advertisement instead of seeing old Stevo there. So I go 1821 Productions, Voice of the Voiceless, signing off. And this has been Crawl, Walk, Run, Season 2, Episode 8, Christmas edition. Have a great day. Love, peace, and joy. Always remember, be the voice of the unheard. Thank you, Cassie.
Thank you so much. You have a wonderful Christmas season.
Thank you very much. So I am 1821 Productions, and remember, no more dead friends, people. No more dead friends. Always remember, be the voice of the voiceless.
Crawl, Walk, Run podcast. I'm William A. Stevens, Jr., better known as Stevo, retired Sergeant First Class, founder of 1821 Productions, and now the host of Crawl, Walk, Run podcast, where leadership, resilience, and real talk meet. I'm a 5-time award-winning author of Veteran and a mental health advocate who's lived through the battles that come after service, the ones you can't see. Through my reflection series, The Mirror, Black Edition, The Broken Mirror, and No Filter, I've given a voice to the voiceless and shown that even in darkness, light still speaks. Now, through the Crawl, Walk, Run podcast, I'm taking that same message to the mic, connected with veteran creators and leaders who crawl through pain, walk through purpose, and learn to run towards something greater. This isn't just a show, it's a movement. I'm not here to impress people. I'm here to impact them because I've lived it, the trauma, the transition, the fight to rebuild, and I'm still standing, still speaking, still giving a voice to those who can't. I'm Stevo, host of the Crawl, Walk, Run podcast, voice of the voiceless, speaking head fire.
Crawl, Walk, Run has been brought to you by 1821 Productions, voice of the voiceless. If you have a story, please reach out. We are the voice of the unheard. Till next time.